Today I'm going to reveal a mesmerizing synergy, a spellbinding dance between two cards that enhances the power of each. First, let me introduce you to Surveil lands, the new dual lands that allow you to take a peek at the top card of your library, and if you so choose, you can put that card into your graveyard. Next, brace yourselves. From out of the shadows emerges Worldly Tutor, which can seek a creature from your library and place it atop. Now, here's where the magic ignites. When these cards conspire, they become Entomb, transplanting any card from your library to the grave. This is a symphony of mechanics, a harmonious pair. Graveyard beckons, so our creatures can rise anew. So it's round one and we've been paired into a known Doomsday player. This very powerful strategy uses the deck's namesake to exile all but 5 cards from it and then cast Thassa's Oracle to win the game. Our opening 7 is exactly what you would want out of a Reanimator strategy, the ability to Dark Ritual, Entomb, and Reanimate on turn 1. I lead off with my Dark Ritual, which is met by a Force of Will to slow me down. We draw into our Worldly Tutor on turn 2, and along with the ability to fetch for a Surveil land, we have assembled our own Entomb. I fetch, get Underground Mortuary, put the Surveil trigger on the stack, and Worldly Tutor for Atraxa to put on top. Surveil resolves, and just like that, we have an Atraxa in the graveyard. I figure now is as good a time as any, so I fire off the Animate Dead on my turn to return Atraxa from the grave, and to my surprise, it resolves. But as Swords to Plowshares exiles Atraxa with her trigger on the stack. We still get to restock our hand with 5 new cards and try again next turn. I try to sneak a peek with a Grief to see what they're working with, and it's met by Veil of Summer, so I'll have to wait till next turn. They ponder on their turn and choose not to shuffle, play out a land and a Lotus Petal, and pass it back. I lead with a discard spell on my turn, and my opponent has yet another Veil of Summer. I respond by flashing in my Orcish Bowmasters to get a point of damage, and when his Veil resolves, he draws a card and triggers a Miracle Triumph of St. Catherine off the top of his deck. This isn't too concerning though, because I'm trying to set up one of my 2 infinite combos for next turn. I Entomb while he's tapped out and put Worldgorger Dragon to the graveyard. An attack for 5 on his turn puts us down to 18. I untap with Animate Dead in hand, which means I can attempt my combo now. I cast Animate Dead, target the Worldgorger Dragon, and once again, it resolves. When the dragon enters play, it exiles all permanents I control, including Animate Dead. Since the Animate Dead is removed from the dragon will die, and then all cards exiled will return to play. This means Orcish Bowmaster will ping my opponent for 1, and Animate Dead will re-enter play and can target the dragon once again. Worldgorger comes back, exiles everything again, and the loop repeats itself. Just some good clean fun. My opponent acknowledges my shenanigans and packs it up. And while we had most of the fun in game 2, my opponent had all the fun in game 3. Turn 1 Dark Ritual into Doomsday means I have 1 turn to make something happen. Fortunately, I get super lucky and my first draw reveals a Dark Ritual, which means I can grief my opponent, take Swords to Plowshares, Dark Ritual, Entomb Collector Oof, and reanimate it. Now, if my opponent is dependent on their Lotus Petal to cast Thassa's Oracle, they'll lose the game. He brainstorms, plays Misty Rainforest, and I'm hoping there's not another land in the deck. I Surveil Animate Dead to the top, attack him down to 5, and Thoughtseize the Archon out of my hand. This means he's dead next turn if I can get there. Nope. Martin's no dummy. Fetch Island, cast Oracle, and it's GG. So despite a loss, we checked 2 things off of our list in match 1, but I did mention we have another infinite combo in our deck, right? Check this out. We're on the draw, we'll keep playing with a Fledged Strand coming our way. Drawn to a Grief, pretty good. We're gonna start with Verdant Catacombs, pass the turn. I'm gonna slow play this one. Playing with a Fetch, Savannah, Beanstalk, trigger, they draw a card. Their turn, I'm gonna fetch. Mortuary, trigger. We're gonna put Abdel into our graveyard. Untap, draw a Reanimate, play out our Bayou, and we're gonna Grief, discard Reanimate. Playing with Force of Will, Binding, Terminus, Ponder, Bowmaster. We're gonna get rid of the Ponder, cast Animate Dead on Abdel, trigger, and once again, we're off to the races. When Abdel enters play, you can choose to exile any number of permanents from the battlefield and create a 1/1 soldier token each time you do. Much like we did with Worldgorger, we can exile our own enchantment, which returns Abdel to the graveyard, and then returns Animate Dead back to play. Trigger, return Abdel again, rinse, and repeat. Let's go. Out of fear of developing carpal tunnel, I stopped with 22 1/1s, figuring that was good enough. With the last Animate Dead, I opted to return Grief instead of Abdul to take the Terminus out of my opponent's hand, just in case they found a Brainstorm to put it back on top. They untap, draw, and scoop it up. That was a turn 2 kill, not too shabby, but if we're being honest, a child could have done that. I want to move on to a more interactive matchup to show you how this deck can struggle in the face of adversity, especially when the person piloting the deck is a little rusty when it comes to the format. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, we see Solitude, Solitude, Stoneforge, and Thalia. I'm going to get rid of Solitude, and we're going to fire off a Reanimate. See if they want to lose their whole hand. Okay, they do not. We'll take Solitude out of their hand. Opponent has Stoneforge, Thalia, and Unknown. Opponent with the Marsh Flats. Back our way. Interesting. We draw another Reanimate. We'll start with combat. Attack for 3. Wonder if this is a Bowmaster. They fetch. Swamp. I think it is. They fire off a Bowmaster. We're gonna hit our Grief. Double block. We'll make that trade. And we're gonna reanimate again. So if I knew what I was doing, there is a very clear choice here. But because of my lack of familiarity with what's in their deck, I play like a Bobo and choose Thalia, thinking I could do my self-made Entomb next turn to reanimate an Archon and just win the game. But what I didn't factor in is that play will take 2 turns to execute because Dance with the Dead costs 2 mana. Duh. So they can now cast Stoneforge to get Lion Sash, put Lion Sash into play, and I'll never have another chance of getting another creature out of the graveyard again. So I've got to pivot to plan B, which is Worldly Tutor for an Orcish Bowmasters and pray. And honestly, it's not a very good plan. They draw another Solitude, and I am forced to scoop it up. So we're going to fast forward things to round 5, playing for the 3-2, and I wind up getting paired into a friend who also likes playing Reanimator. Now, most people would say this matchup is like 2 ships passing in the night. But as this game will show you, our ships actually had a head-on collision. Check this out. Opponent with Bloodstained Mire. I think this is probably some sort of a mirror match. Lotus Petal. Unmask. We're going to respond. We get a basic. I'm not actually sure if I'm supposed to respond here, because if I entomb something into the graveyard, he can reanimate it. So I think I just wait. Oh, he's doing it to himself. Okay. Well, this actually is going to work out well then. Fetch. 2 mana for an Exhume. We're going to entomb in response. And I can get an Atraxa of my own, or I can get an Archon, which will kill their Atraxa. So I think that's what I'm going to go for here. Archon comes into play, triggers. Their Atraxa is gone. I draw a card. They're going to put a handful of cards into their hand. Alright, this is what my opponent's hand looks like. Coming back our way. Still have to deal with the Atraxa in their graveyard. A little problematic. Start by moving to combat. Attack. Discard a Grief. We draw into a Mortuary. I was really hoping for a Reanimate spell. They're down to 7. And fire off this Marsh Flats. Fetch. Get a Bayou. Ritual. Ritual. And a Troll. Okay, opponent's turn. Could still be in trouble. Lotus Petal. Faithless Looting. And they scoop it up. Alright. So it was kind of like 2 ships passing in the night. But I finished with a 3-2, and I'll be honest, I couldn't return these cards fast enough because this is definitely not my style of deck. Hope you've enjoyed regardless. I will see you all again very soon, but until then, you know the deal. Be well, my friend.